My 27-year-old son refuses to get a job after law school. I never had any problems with him other than his mild anxiety. He always did well in school. We never pressured him. He worked through college and law school and seemed to have it together. He passed the bar on his first try and got his license early. This was all last year and that was it. He never did anything after. He worked 5 days at a law firm and quit. He sometimes does seasonal work at retail stores and that's it. He tells me he wasted enough of his life and doesn't want to sit in an office for 40 hours a week. But he doesn't do anything else either. He takes walks, rides his bike, watches Netflix, plays video games. It's like he's lost all ambition. Mind you, we live in a tiny apartment. I just have a hard time why someone would go through all that trouble of schooling to do nothing. He doesn't seem depressed, but like he went backwards. I don't know if he is depressed or something, but he makes it sound like he paid his dues, and that's it.
Lawyer here. Being a lawyer sucks for 90% of lawyers and I'd say about 100% of new calls. Once you're a lawyer, you're a lawyer. You can always go back to it. Some folks need a break from law. I have many colleagues who graduated, got called, and then didn't practice law for a year. They eventually went back to doing some sort of legal work, but they were burned out. It is completely okay for him to work retail instead of law if that's what he wants to do. The best case for a lawyer where I live is a 50 to 60-hour work week and a lot of stress. Not everyone wants that life. Try not to project your own expectations onto him. That said, your post seems to imply that he is living at home and working part-time. Is this correct? If so, that's a separate issue, and some of the other suggestions that he might be depressed apply.
Why aren't you charging him rent?
Start charging him rent money. But don't actually put it towards any bills or anything. Just hold on to it and let it accumulate. When he finally moves out, just give him all the money back in one large lump sum. He will be angry, but whatever, he's a grown man shrugging. There is other work he can do with a law degree that involves little lawyering. Maybe mention there are Joe Bulls hits such as in-house investigators for government, universities, and corporations he could look at doing. Some of these positions actually require a law degree and cannot be done by someone like myself who is just former military. The work is more interesting and for his sanity will have a better balance than being an attorney.
There's only so much you can do for an adult. I would encourage him to maybe explore therapy, which could help him if he is depressed, but also it can help him maybe figure out what he does want to do with his life. There's a big difference between not working in an office but still being a productive member of society, and playing video games all day. I would also start setting some boundaries with him. He's an adult, you have a small apartment, time for him to start contributing. He should be doing chores, helping with rent, and figuring out what he does want to do and seeking some kind of employment. He's not working because he doesn't have to. Most people get burnt out at multiple points in their life. I'm sure there's been time you would have loved to just quit your job midday and not have to worry about anything. I've done it once. I took a few months off working, I had enough saved up to pay my bills. And it was great. But I had to go back because I had to pay bills. Based on his comments, it sounds like he just doesn't want to do things he doesn't like. But that's not the way the world works. Most people don't love their jobs. They view it as what they have to do to live the rest of their life how they want. But he's getting to live the life he wants right now. So why would he change that? He's probably depressed. He should talk to a therapist. If he refuses to go to a therapist, you could make it a contingency if he wishes to continue living under your roof. Also, he's 27, you could tell him he needs to contribute by getting a job if he wants to continue living with you.
When I was in my 20s, I saw a handful of friends go through this. The common thread? Mommy and daddy let him stay at home. You are enabling him. Set some new terms to rent support that phases in over the next year. It needs to provide him time to get a job. 2 to 3 months is plenty, and then escalate to the point where he is discouraged financially to live with you. You have to push him out of the nest since he is not doing it on his own.
I don't see any problem with him not wanting to be a lawyer. Him mooching off of you working part-time without paying any bills is the bigger issue. He wants to live the life of a carefree bohemian. Sure man, you do you, but he shouldn't be able to mooch off of you to do so.
Itib is not depressed. I think he is looking to find a meaning in his life with impotence, and that is not being a lawyer or working in an office.
Why work if you don't have to? He must be independently wealthy or be getting financial support somewhere. Lucky him.
Maybe it's time for him to leave home. At a certain point, he has to take responsibility for himself, and you have to stop providing that safety net. He's finished school, obtained his certification, and then decided that he was burnt out. That is all well and good, but it doesn't change the fact that he now has the ability to be self-sufficient. He can be self-sufficient whilst figuring out what he wants to do. Good luck.
He's 27. He's just had his first experience in the real world. Obviously he didn't like it. You might have to ask him to start paying rent or move out. He's 27, for Pete's sake. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't expect you to support him the rest of his life.
Honestly, time for a wake-up call. He can live on his own and figure it out.
Why does he need to work when he gets to live with you for free? I don't see much incentive for him.
This is definitely a tough love response, but you understand you're enabling his stagnation, right? He's 27 years old and it's your home he's farting around in. With his education, there's a whole wide world of Joe bullshit available to him out there, and he's choosing to stare at the wall instead. I'm not saying throw him out on his ass tomorrow, but I am saying that as the person paying the bills, you have the power to force him into some kind of momentum, i.e. he can only continue to live with you if he proves to you that he's submitting at least 3 job applications a week, etc. Your son doesn't realize that you can have a job and soul search at the same time. He can slog it out at a job he's not particularly passionate about while he looks for something else. But right now he's resting comfortably in your safety net because you're letting him.
How long hasn't he been working? I know of many friends who did not work after graduation, as they did things such as traveling for a year, or do their own things. To each his own, but perhaps he just wanted to catch a breather or need some personal time to get back his motivation to work as a lawyer. If you are really worried, you can tell him so, or perhaps you can see if he's interested in picking up new skills online.
He got fired, doesn't want to tell you that. Now it is hard to get another job.
Your son sounds like a great kid. He is clearly smart and knows what he is doing with his life and wants to do with it. Why don't you just enjoy having him around, especially if he is not a financial strain on you? This thread is depressing me. Raising a kid equals teaching them to love working, makes me wish I just wasn't born.
Kick him out then. Unless you love crippling your son by supporting him. He can work any job he likes, but he can't stay with you. Do a formal eviction. Certified mail and everything. You can give him 60 days and offer to pay his deposit as an incentive, but he needs to get a job and start working. Collect some things so that can get started. Old furniture, housewares, etc. Gives you an opportunity to get rid of some crap, organize your own space. No one says you have to be mean. You do need to kick him out so that he stands on his own 2 feet. He's 27. Unless he's won the lottery, he is not entitled to live in your house and your money.
He really needs to learn how to function like an adult. Man, I wish you had been my parent, lol. I was forced to pay rent at 16. Stop enabling him or he's going to want to stay home and watch Netflix for the rest of his life. At 27 I was homeless, running away from an abusive man.
He's an adult and can do whatever he wants with his life. Your only responsibility in this situation is to kick him out of your house ASAP and refuse to help support him financially. You have that responsibility because it is what's best for him, and more importantly, what's best for you.
He may not want to be a lawyer, but he needs to get a job and start supporting himself. Plenty of people have law degrees and do something else, but you shouldn't have to keep supporting him doing nothing.
A friend of mine did the same but with teaching. Finished the university, passed all exams, and then quit after the first day because she realized that she hated the kids. As a lawyer, you sometimes have to take up Joe bullshit that require you to work with human waste. I worked in PR and quit even though I got a better contract offered. I became a cynical douche, and maybe your son realized early enough that this was against his beliefs. Sad thing is that he still lives at home. That safety net won't help him and you won't be there forever. Maybe he should follow a more honorable branch of his profession. International court in The Hague in Europe. Something with a meaning. Working for poor families' rights on the side. Anything that gives him a purpose. The most helpful thing for him would be to rent his own apartment. Your own legs don't stand from wishes alone. Someday every parent is gone, and if their kids don't know how to fly, it won't end well. I'm a father too.
I think you need to have a conversation. I for one hated law school, and now I hate being a lawyer. I stick with it because I guess the money is good? I don't know, still trying to figure it out. Maybe he knows he doesn't want to be a lawyer, it sucks, but doesn't know what he wants to do and doesn't want to go waste more time getting another education for something that turns out to be just like law. It's pretty paralyzing. You think about what I'd do outside of law, so I definitely think a conversation is needed. It sounds like depression could definitely be playing a role and he's stuck with no idea how to move forward.
Tell him you've paid your dues as a parent for 27 years, so you will stop taking care of him and it's time to move out, and he has until this date. A date long enough for him to save up first month's and last or whatever if he gets a job ASAP.
He's probably dehydrated. Give him a glass of water.
Oh, okay, so why isn't he homeless? Seriously. You're encouraging his behavior by maintaining his cushy lifestyle. Inspire him to get a job and pay his way by giving him a roof over his head, expiration date. Perhaps October or November, because it would be cruel to put him out in the dead of winter. Time to kick him out then. Of course he's not going to want to work if he doesn't have to. He's 27, he needs to be paying rent and for all his expenses.
Do you pay him any money to help him with rent? Does he live at your home, and not pay rent? Does he ask for money from you? If he asks for financial support, he needs a job. If he doesn't, I think he's just trying to find his own way. Smile. Life is too short to do things you don't care about, maybe give him space. Let him do what he wants unless he is really struggling financially.
He sounds burned out or potentially depressed. Or he just sees working one's ass off 5 days a week to be an awful existence and wants to be neat. Life should not be all about work.
Sounds like your son's got major burnout. Maybe he should take a gap year and get into something that will take him to new places like language teaching or volunteer work, after COVID is wrangled in obviously.
Oh boo-hoo. If you continue to enable him, he is never going to grow up. He is 27 years old, he knows that stuff isn't free. Sorry to be harsh, but if you continue to enable him, then he will never change. Someone else always picking up his tab and never really achieving anything. He doesn't want to be a robot, but he is happy for you guys to work more so he can mooch of you. Be cruel to be kind. Serve him notice, give him some time but not too much, and tell him he has to spread his wings. If he then chooses income support and a crummy flat, then it's on him.
Take a look at his Netflix history. If you notice a pattern of existential shows he might be going through that. My older brother was acting in a similar way till I noticed his Netflix history.
He didn't graduate or pass his bar and has been lying to you.
Have you talked to him about this at all? You only say that he wasted enough of his life etc., but have you two actually sat down for a real conversation about this? If so, what else was said? Yeah, I know of a man who pulled this stunt. His wife divorced him because she thought that she was marrying a lawyer. Truth is, a lot of lawyers don't want to be lawyers, and it's not worth it in 2020. He is probably burned out, and we're in the middle of a pandemic. Don't approve of the behavior, though. Encourage him to apply to different types of jobs. Maybe he can teach.
I guess he missed the memo. Success means feeling exactly how he feels, but nonetheless dragging yourself through day after dreary day doing the man's work. Doing exactly what the boss wants, furthering the boss's values, in exchange for whatever the boss feels like paying. But seriously, therapy might help.
I mean shit, maybe the dude needs a break and is mentally exhausted. Law school is a bitch, and entering the working world after so many years of schooling is pretty big fucking jump to normal. I bet he's a smart dude and he figures it out.
Did you or anyone else force law school on him? Most guys take a certain career route that was forced on them by parents or media or society, and then they find out that it's not really what they want, and then they do stuff like this. I was the same. I dropped out of nursing school before I rediscovered that it wasn't what I want to do. I went into business and sales. Tell him maybe get into sales. Because the skill is transferable into any industry, so if he gets bored in one industry he can move to another. He sounds really burnt out. If I were you, I'd try to have a real conversation about what he wants to do with his life, and what makes him happy. Maybe he feels like he should be doing law work since he went to school for it for so long, but maybe he'd be happier taking a break to do something else or recharge for a while.
I changed careers after building a successful business I stopped caring about. He doesn't want to be a lawyer and you don't have to understand that. But you also shouldn't be supporting him. How is a 27-year-old grown man not working? I'm assuming he lives with you? And if he doesn't live with you, and he earns enough to survive on his own in a life that makes him happy, there isn't really a problem. I mean, it's not a life we dream of for our kids, but it's not our life, and at 27 there are things he just needs to figure out for himself. Unless he is depressed or you're paying his way, all you have to do is love him and not interfere. Sometimes we hurt our kids more by forcing them along. Now if you are supporting him, that just has to stop. That can keep him from finding his path, too. Maybe he needs a break. School can be very exhausting and depressing.
Get the kid some therapy if it's viable. The real world. The real world shouldn't be this way. Your kid shouldn't have the "it doesn't matter, we're going to die anyway" mentality. He's 27. As long as he's not draining you dry, has his hand out at every turn, running up the power bill, etc., then the "let him be homeless" approach is just needlessly cruel. Sorry Yal's parents didn't love you lol. But don't just watch him stagnate. Support and love him like you have, give him a nudge, maybe therapy, help him find his passion, and I think he'll be okay. You're a good mom. Heart. Move him out.
Make him pay rent money, and make him pay for his food. Then after a year tell him he has 5 months to find a place and get out.
Honestly, he sounds burnt out, but at the very least it's not like he's bumming around. He's staying active and enjoying himself. I think it's good to give him some time and help him figure out what he wants to do next.
Sounds like he is depressed and definitely needs to talk to a therapist. I also suggest that you have him engage in some volunteer work, that way he can get out of the house, be exposed to new types of work sectors, and hopefully find value in doing something good for others.